the people, taking back the power, bringing it to the streets, serving those in need, doing the holy work until we all are free. Shalom Rav. Hinei ma tovu manayim sheverachim gam yachad. 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 Sheverachim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom. It is so good to be here with each of you. I am especially excited to welcome our last musician in residence for the COVID-19 pandemic. Ellie Flier is with us from Nashville. It is wonderful to have you. It is wonderful to have everyone from near and far, whether you're with me in the south suburbs of Pittsburgh, or whether you are up in Maine, or over in New Hampshire, or out in Seattle, or down in California, or Fred in Northern California, or you're still in Florida. It is a pleasure to start Shabbat together. I hope that it is sunny where you are. I hope that this day brings a sense of rest and peace. We recognize how wonderful, how beautiful this day is.
Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom.
If you have with you your Shabbat candles or a glass of juice or wine for Kiddush, I would invite you to grab it now as we continue with the blessings on pages 2 and 5, welcoming Shabbat.
We welcome Shabbat with the blessing over the Shabbat candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lechadlik ner shel Shabbat. We turn now to the blessing over the wine that sanctifies this day of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratza banu, v'shabbat shalom, b'ahava uvratzon, hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat mitzrayim. Ki banu bacharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodecha, v'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi Lockitz, for leading us in those blessings, and I'm so glad to have everyone with us this evening. You know, one of the challenges of COVID-19, not getting to see one another in person, we don't get to have any of the small talk conversations on the way into or the way out of services. I can't ask any of you informally what you thought of the draft last night and whether Najee Harris is going to be a good fit here in Pittsburgh. I'm kind of hoping you're going to let me know your thoughts in the chat box. Nate Eisinger and I were already talking about my Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields making his way to Chicago and whether that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm excited to hear what you think this means for the city of Pittsburgh, and I'm excited to be with you as we sing, as we pray our way into Shabbat. We turn now to face the setting sun as did the mystics in northern Israel. Much more on that after a very sad day later on in our service. But for now, we turn to page 20 and channel that inner peace that Shabbat brings us. Ellie, I'm so excited to have you with us, and I turn everyone back to you.
Thank you. I absolutely love Shabbat, and for me, that moment when I can finally take a deep breath and release it is the moment when we sing Lecha Dodi. For me, that is the moment that we welcome Shabbat, and we are welcoming the Sabbath bride. It is an official act, an official welcome. And I absolutely love this moment, and I wanted to write a song about it, not just with the words of Lecha Dodi, but with words from my heart that described the feeling that I have when we sing Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala ve'enei Shabbat lehekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala ve'enei Shabbat lehekabela. It's been a week to remember, and we sit here together as the sunlight disappears. The candles shine brighter and our spirits grow lighter. Shabbat is finally here. Lecha Dodi likrat kala ve'enei Shabbat lehekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala ve'enei Shabbat lehekabela. Let us rise up to meet you. We are waiting to greet you as the night is drawing near. We are lifting our voices. Can you hear us rejoice as Shabbat is finally here? Lecha Dodi likrat kala ve'enei Shabbat lehekabela. Lecha Dodi קלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת להקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת להקבלה.
We continue now on page 24 as we continue our welcoming. Having welcomed one another, having welcomed Shabbat, we turn to welcoming God's ministering angels with words of Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seidchem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Will you join me on pages 26 and 27? Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba, b'amad yivrachu v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, b'gala, b'gala, uv'izman kariv v'yimeru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, le'alam lo me'amaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitbar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yitalev, V'yithalal, Shemei D'Kudish Abrichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran v'elma, V'yimeru, Amen. As we continue with our Baruch Hu praise, our call to worship, the start of our evening tefillah, I invite you to rise, perhaps physically where you are, perhaps in spirit, perhaps in body or soul, as we prepare for our service together.
to my prayer. Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed Le'olam Va'ed Yadadai Dai Dai Yadadai Dai Dai Yadadai Dai Dai We spend a moment at our services reflecting on light and darkness in a prayer called Ma'ariv Aravim, a prayer for the evening. In this prayer, we talk about the creation of light and how light did not come alone. Light came with darkness. And it is a constant cycle that is not meant to provoke fear, I believe, that darkness comes after light, but that light will always, always come after darkness. I wrote this song in March of last year when everything seemed so dark and so scary. And we're finally in that moment of beginning to see the light. But I find for myself that these words that I wrote are no less meaningful. And the words that kept me sane, that kept me going, that helps me believe that we would get through this. That out of darkness, there will be light to shine on us again. The days grow long, the seasons change. Nothing ever stays the same. The sun will shine, but not for long. Time marches on. Then the sun will set and the moon will rise. The stars at rest up in the sky, charting a course across the heavens above. Borei Yom Balayla Golelor Mipnei Choshech Bechoshech Mipnei Or. Borei Yom Balayla Golelor Mipnei Choshech Bechoshech Mipnei Or. We stand at the edge of the fading light. What lies ahead is out of sight. Give us the strength to cross into the unknown. Guide us through our dark despair. What life hands us we must bear. But when we fail you in the dark, we know we're not alone. Borei Yom Balayla Golelor Mipnei Choshech חושך וחושך מפני אור. בורא יום ולילה גולה אלור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. Out of darkness there will be light. Out of darkness there will be light. Out of darkness there will be light to shine on us again. Sing that with me. Out of darkness. Out of darkness there will be light. Out of darkness there will be light. Out of darkness there will be light to shine on us again. Sing it this time like you really believe it. Out of darkness there will be light. Out of darkness there will be light. Out of darkness there will be light to shine on us again. To shine on us. To shine on us again. To shine on us again.
Ken Yehi Ratzon, may that be God's will. We continue in the English on the top of page 33, and I would invite you to join me. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Of that which we are certain, the watchwords of our faith, pages 34 and 35, Shema Yisrael, there is but one God. We again rise in our spirit, rise in our place as we continue in prayer.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha. And you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. How do we embody that concept? How do we love God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our might? How do we go out into the world, past our doorposts where the mezuzahs hang? How do we teach our children, not with words, but with actions? Let love guide your hands as they touch the world. Let love guide your lips as as they speak kind words. Let love guide your legs when you leave your home. Let love guide your ears when you listen close. For we are all God's hands. For we are all God's lips. For we are all God's legs. And we are all God's ears. And it's up to us to love. There are signs in the world if we choose to see such wonder in the world and in all living things. And with all of our breath and all of our minds, we will set forth to work for what's right. For we are all God's hands. For we are all God's lips. For we are all God's legs. And we are all God's ears. And it's up to us to love. And you shall love, and you shall love, and you shall love. For we are all God's hands. For we are all God's lips. For we are all God's legs. And we are all God's ears. And it's up to us to love.
Our service continues now, pages 40 and 41, with our Mi Chamocha praise and an English reading before it. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We continue with our Mi Chamocha praise, singing of freedom's promise, not only for our ancient ancestors, but for each of us to extend through the works of our hearts and our hands to those still in need this day.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar
continue now on page 42 with our Hashkivenu praise, asking God to spread a shelter of protection, guiding us, shielding us beneath God's wings of peace, us and all in this sometimes broken, this sometimes troubled world. Hashkivenu on page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake from morning's light. Teach us daily wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment lasting forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. So too it is with Shabbat. We read about our day of rest, God's day of rest in the biblical text, and yet we recognize that it's a model, a blueprint for us in each and every day, Shabbat vayinafash, to rest and be refreshed. And we continue with those words found on page 44 in our prayer book.
In Judaism, we are often retelling stories, and we retell those stories again and again and again because they carry so much meaning. We have Shabbat every week, so many Shabbats a year. It's very easy to take it for granted. But the Vishamru, in the form of a story, takes us back to that very, very first Shabbat, when God created the world and everything in the universe in 6 days. And on the seventh day, God rested, not just rested, but as the rabbi said, Shavat vayinafash, Shavat, the same root as Shabbat, to rest. And vayinafash, the same root as nefesh, to mean soul. It's the verb of soul. God took the time to renew his soul. Something that I only hope that we can have a fraction of every week on our Shabbats.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים
השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. As we lead into the Amidah, we're going to take a moment to prepare ourselves for this very, very special prayer. Adonai Sefatai Tivtach. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Such an intimate moment that we're about to have. Let's ease our way into it.
We continue pages 48 and following with the central portion of our service. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Agadol Hagibor V'Hanara El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Gula Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo V'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magin Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Vezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atarav Lehoshia Morid Hatal Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Milchamocha Bal Gevurot Umido Melach melech memid u'mechaye u'matzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. And to these words of Jewish tradition, we add the words and prayers, the meditations that can only come from each of our own hearts. We continue now with a moment of silent prayer.
Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen.
With words of our Misha Berach prayer, we pause and ask for a sense of healing and wholeness in our lives and in the lives of those who have been touched by illness. Today I had the honor to visit a hospital room for the first time since the pandemic has begun, to pray a refuah shlema, a Misha Berach for healing, with one on the mend who will get better, with strength and courage, with a good team around her. And I know there are many others we hold in our hearts, those who are struggling with ailments of mind, of body, of spirit. If you're comfortable sharing their name in the comment box, that we might all concert our prayers, our efforts, our energies, or perhaps even saying their name aloud in the space you are in, reminding yourself of your obligation to be Kor Cholim, to take away 1/60th of their pain through a visit, through a phone call, through an act of kindness. We think of all of them as we pray for a speedy recovery of mind and spirit, of body and soul. Words of Misha Berach Lecholim, found on page 253 in your prayer book.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha May the source of strength, who Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotzeinu mekor habracha le'avotzeinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
This week's Torah portion, Parashat Emor, goes into detail, significant detail, anomalously repetitious detail about the holiday of Sukkot. 7 days you should celebrate and bring an offering to the temple. 7 days you should celebrate and do no work. 7 days you should celebrate with myrtle, palm, and willow branches. 7 days you should celebrate and build a booth, a sukkah, in which to dwell. How long is this holiday? Just kidding. Each time the length of the holiday is repeated, a new detail is given about its celebration. While this may seem like a curious stylistic choice, it unintentionally draws our attention to one of the most beautiful parts of our tradition. The book of Deuteronomy, you see, records only one of those 4 details of how to celebrate Sukkot. The book of Ezra records only 1 additional detail. The book of Nehemiah records 2 of those details. More likely than each of these later works only observing part of the holiday is that Leviticus actually pulls together different ways of observing Sukkot into one super holiday, celebrating the harvest, waving the lulav and the etrog, building Sukkot, the holiday that we know today. The priestly authors knew what was meaningful and significant from what the people were already doing, and they managed to weave it into a beautiful observance. During Torah study today, one of our august scholars suggested that this is quite similar to the efforts of Reform Judaism, and I think she's right. But I would add to it all of Rabbinic Judaism. While the early rabbis, much like the priestly authors of the book of Leviticus, did their work a long time ago, the ritual creativity that they explored laid out a blueprint for us today. It's the same blueprint we followed in the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. As observances and celebrations and rituals shifted online, we had some pretty difficult choices to make, lifting up and emphasizing those parts of the high holy day services, B'nai Mitzvah, Passover, Seders, and more that are meaningful and relevant, while trying to shorten their time to accommodate our shortened virtual attention spans was something of a challenge. Figuring out the iyun, the essence of our Torah Center lesson plans and our adult studies and our Torah study each week was something of a challenge. Shifting from stone tablets to quills, to ink and parchment, to books, to emails, to live streaming was something of a challenge. Our tradition, though, was made flexible in order to meet these challenges. And just as we saw with Leviticus and the celebration of Sukkot, as long as we keep our eyes on what's meaningful and significant, you are willing to stay with us through a challenging time. Are you ready to do it again? We're making the final preparations to welcome folks back into our sacred spaces with appropriate policies and procedures and precautions in place. We're getting ready to welcome you back to temple, God willing, in the middle of May or just a bit later. It's going to be a challenge. How do we weight the contributions and thus the time spent on those contributions of in-person participants at a study and those who are with us online? Where is my eye contact directed when I have the pleasure of praying with you in person and with you in the virtual space? How do we allow for Yartzeit observance, Shabbat regulars, guests, family of B'nai Mitzvah, and more to each call first dibs on the Shabbat RSVP each week? This camera isn't turning off. Those who are with us from around the country are as important as those who are with us in the burbs of Pittsburgh, and there are going to be challenges. Our tradition, though, was made flexible to allow us to meet these challenges. And just as we saw with the book of Leviticus and the celebration of Sukkot, as long as we can keep our eyes on that which is meaningful, that which is significant, together we will settle into the comfortable, the beautiful observance of Judaism for this next era of Jewish life. So what has meaning and significance? Connecting perhaps to the generations that have gone before us in word and in deed, focusing and refocusing on our highest values learned from our age-old tradition, sharing sacred experiences, uplifting joyous times, standing with one another through difficult times, all of it together in community, connecting one-on-one, seeing and hearing and listening to one another in what Buber called I-thou relationships. These same things have always been meaningful, always been significant in our tradition, from the book of Leviticus to the book of Ezra to the book of Nehemiah to today. We have the blueprint, and while the forms of our observance may change, they may sometimes change painfully, the essence, the meaning, remains the same. We will figure this out together, just as the generations before us have done. We, though, have the advantage of email. So stay tuned, stay in touch. Keep watching your email for when we're ready to take those next steps. It's going to be good to see you in person. For now, though, we continue in the virtual space, turning in our prayer books to words of Aleinu L'Shabeach. You can find these words on the bottom of page 282. 400 is a little bit further in our service. Page 282, bottom of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kuye haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishbechot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol ha'aretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad. And before we continue with words of Kaddish Yatom, our mourner's Kaddish, on page 294, we take a moment before reciting the names of our loved ones and our congregational family to recognize a tragedy that has befallen the Jewish people. With heavy heart, we mourn the loss of 45 lives last night on Mount Meron in northern Israel. Many ultra-Orthodox Jews gathered to celebrate Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer, and while there are so many unanswered questions about what led to such a tragic loss of life, we bow our heads in pain and grief as the victims begin to be laid to rest. We take them into our hearts with our own, as at this Shabbat our congregational family remembers. We observe the period of Shloshim for Diane Holsinger, Robin Gordon Minutello, David Rasco, and Robert Shore. In this Shabbat, we mark the yahrzeit, the commemoration of the passing of Harry Auerbach, David Bremen, Morris Browarski, Bennett Allen Burston, Eric Cantor, Albert G. Chase, Sandra Derrick, Gerald Diamond, Arthur J. Diskin, William H. Drummond, Elaine Egger, Herbert Fry, Frida Friedman, Helen Gazzo, Rose S. Glasspool, Abraham Horowitz, Frida May Israel, Morton Israel, Will Joseph, Alan Kent, Shirley Harris Lang, Harry Levin, Bernhard Lieberman, Seymour Mahler, Melvin Mollinger, Molly Mandel, Ethel Riesberg, Ethel Copeland Rotman, Benjamin A. Rubin, Elizabeth Sarah Schmerling, Phyllis Schneider, Albert Siegel, Fanny Kaplan Silverman, Alan Simon, Philip Solomon, Pearl Stolzer, Gertrude Wiseman Thomas, Nathan Turk, Milton Watsman, Doris Cooper Weiner, Bessie Wiesenthal, and May Zubroff. Yehi Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for us an everlasting blessing. Words of Kaddish Yatom, our Mourner's Kaddish, can be found on page 294, and I invite you to join me. Yit Gadal V'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divrach Hirutei V'Yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon Uvyomechon, Uvchaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala V'Zman Kariv V'Imru. Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Olamei Almayah. Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yipa'ar V'Yitramam V'Yitnaseh V'Yithadar V'Yit'aleh V'Yithalal Shemei D'Kudsha Barich Hu Leila Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechamata Damiran Be'alma V'Imru. Amen. Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'Imru. Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Mramav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'Imru. Amen. May God, who makes peace in the highest of heavens, make peace for us and for all who mourn on this Shabbat. And together we say, Amen. Thank you all for being with us this Shabbat, for joining us in song and in prayer. And a special thank you to you, Ellie, for joining us this Shabbat across time zones, across distance, to share your gifts, your talents, your leadership of this service, as well as a closing song. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. It's been so wonderful to be with you and your congregation tonight. I just love what you said in your Dvar. It's so true. I mean, it's not just for Sukkot or for COVID. We Jews have been adapting for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And the reason why we've made it is because that core of who we are has never changed. And I think the reason for that is because we are wanderers. We wander, but we are never lost.
40 years in the desert, 40 days in the rain, 5,000 long years where nothing stays the same. Our path may wind and weave, but faith can lead the way. Don't know our destination, but we'll head there anyway. We're wandering, just like those who came before us. We're wandering for all those yet to come. And God only knows what seas and deserts we will cross. So we're wandering, but never lost. We're a people full of questions, that's always been our way. Our answers come in meanings that
shift and change each day. We'll wrestle with the narrow place and parting of the sea. There's not one truth to find, but we love the journey. We're wandering, just like those who came before us. We're wandering for all those yet to come. And God only knows what seas and deserts we will cross. So we're wandering, but never lost. For those we've loved, l'adore, vador. For those we've lost and we've mourned for, let our memory be our guide. For our children yet to be, for our future history, in our love will we survive. We're wandering, just like those who came before us. We're wandering for all those yet to come. And God only knows what seas and deserts we will cross. So we're wandering. We're wandering, just like those who came before us. We're wandering for all those yet to come. And God only knows what seas and deserts we will cross. So we're wandering, but never lost. Never lost. Never lost. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.